Hey everyone, welcome back to the SEL. Y'all all know what today is. Today is the Lionel 2026 Volume 1 catalog video. And this will be a little bit different than the Third Rail Sunset Models catalog video I did last month. Let me know if you guys like this a little bit better. I'm trying a slightly different setup. It shouldn't be too much different, but this will allow me to, what I'm doing today will allow me to kind of record it all in one shot, as opposed to having to kind of stop and start. We'll have to see if this works a whole lot better. Let me know if you guys like this style compared to the last one. But let's go on and get started with the catalog video here. So we have the normal table of content stuff, and then we jump straight into the 250th anniversary stuff. Now, I do like that they brought back the 440s here, and I also like that they've also included the sounds in the locomotive this time as opposed to the passenger cars. That means that Lionel somehow managed to shrink their legacy boards even smaller. And I'm interested to see what that would mean for the future of legacy as a whole, because I would assume they'd have to put all these in, all the electronics in the tender or something like that. From what I can gather, I mean, it doesn't look like this will have smoke, which I'm also kind of interested to see why they did that. But I mean, I guess that would mean some of the electronics are in the boiler, or maybe it's just too small for a smoke unit anyway, which is probably, now that I say it out loud, probably the more accurate description or explanation as to why there's no smoke unit in this version. And then we have the American passenger cars down there. More America 250th, regular boxcars, HO boxcars, and American Freedom Train engines, which is, if you haven't seen the catalog yet, a telling sign as to what's on the next page. But I believe number one here was just unveiled at the B&O Museum, as in it was being restored. I think it was just in time for the 250th. So nice to see that Lionel has brought these back specifically for this year, and nice to see the Freedom Train come back. And speaking of the Freedom Train, if that's your favorite train, I am so sorry for you. This is going to be a very, very hard hitting catalog for American Freedom Train enjoyers. We have American Freedom Train Pack 2, 2-pack A, B, C, D, Station Sound Sleeping Car, 4-pack. That's a whole, just this page alone for you guys is a whole lot of money. And then we move on to, now, before we move on, something that I've kind of noticed looking through the catalog this morning. I just find it kind of funny that Lionel advertises the passenger cars as lighted. I just kind of thought that was an interesting choice, because why why wouldn't they be lighted? I'd be a little concerned if their passenger cars weren't lighted on the inside, because that would cause all kinds of people getting upset. Move on to the next page. More American Freedom Train. Another 4-pack, showcase cars, support car pack. It includes generator sounds, heavyweight 2-pack, American Freedom Train Coach 2-pack A and B. From what I've seen on servers, this is looking to be like a 6 to 8 grand train. I think, I really don't remember. I'm not going to look. But for those of y'all who like the American Freedom Train and want a train that you know will match and look good together, this might be a really good chance to have a train that you know all the colors will match, and you'll have another engine um as far as the engine goes. And yeah, so moving on to the next one. More American Freedom Train, American 250th stuff, more 250th, new tooling there, More stuff here. Just moving on, more 250th. Nice to say they have a really good selection of American Freedom Train stuff. And not American Freedom Chase, but 250 stuff. More of the lighting stuff. Now it's not just Christmas, you can have normal lighting. And now on to the Vision Line stuff. So it was a very talked about thing going on right before this catalog that no one really had any idea as to what the Vision Line engine for this year would be. And we all thought it could be a steam engine of some kind. And when I saw it was a GP40-2, I was like, okay. Not at all what I was expecting, but okay. I'm interested to see why Lionel calls this worthy of being Vision Line, because we all know what happened with the Commodore Vanderbilts. The Vision Line feature, as far as I understand, was the fact that the metal was wavy, which is what it looked like in the first place. I'm not sure why Lionel thought charging the Vision Line price tag was worth making it look like it was supposed to. But whatever. I mean, it could be that this engine, as you can see here, is going to be so intricately detailed that they'll be able to do a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe that's why it's Vision Line, because this tooling has so much customization possibilities. Maybe I really don't know. But something that did throw me through a loop was you have the version here that's 850, which that's close to the same price as the ET44, which I believe the ET44 should have been. That could also have been a Vision Line engine. But you have the breakdown version over here, which is non-powered. It's non-powered, and it's $50 more than the one that does have motors in it. And I guess that's because it has an extra smoke unit down here where the axle is, and it's got all this stuff coming out. Maybe that's why it's an extra 50, because of the magic or whatever they have to do with the smoke units, to smoke unit 1 or 2, however many it is, to get it to do that effect. But I don't see why they have to charge an extra 50 when there's not a motor in there. But I don't know. I mean, this looks like it could be a pretty cool unit due to how much smoke will come out of it when you use it. But I don't know if it's worth an extra 50 on top of a model that does have motors and things like that. I don't know. Maybe some dealers will have a slightly better discount on pre-orders, but I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not really knocking the model itself. I'm sure these will be fantastic models. I'm sure they'll look great. I just don't know about charging an extra 50 just because it has extra smoke, but I don't know. So we have Burlington Northern chassis system. Top unit is the normal one, and the bottom unit is the breakdown unit. 2 of each of the powered and 1 of the non-powered, just like if you're doing an AA and a Super Base B. CSX, only 1 number of the oh wait, never mind. New tooling for the 8. You have the GP40 up top, then another one down here. The breakdown unit. Yeah, this is a little confusing if you're not really looking, because it looks like there's only 1 of these, and yeah, I'm not sure why they did it that way. But again, same as the last one. 2 of the normal and 1 of the breakdown cars. They just have to exclude that as my clock in the background. Norfolk Southern Southern Pacific, and a CSX. I guess this was one of their early paint schemes. It's a Lionel Collectors Club. Moving on to the next one, Vision Line ethanol cars. Now, before this catalog came out, this was something I was kind of hoping we would see again because it's been a very long time since we've seen the Lionel ethanol cars. And it comes with a UP Legacy Dash 9, which we'll see more of here in the catalog in a little bit. 2 Vision tank cars, 5 30,000-gallon tank cars, and 2 covered hoppers, 1 with an EOT. And if you want to add more, you have 2 sound cars down here you can add, and 6 more ethanol cars at $400 a piece for the 3-pack and $300 a piece for the sound car. And the set is $1,800. I don't think that price is too bad, honestly, because you're getting an engine, 2 sound cars, a car with an EOT, and possibly 5 more cars. The set shows 6 cars here and only 1 Vision car. Or no, there's the other Vision car. I'm not sure why I couldn't see it earlier. So 6 cars and 4 of these normal cars. So I'm not sure if it's a misprint on the 5 up here or if it's actually 5 and Lionel just couldn't fit it all on one page. I don't know. Either way, I think that's a really good price for a set. And if I didn't have so much coming in the future in terms of other pre-orders that I've made, this is a set I would really consider because I've been kind of wanting to build a couple of different unit trains. I'm kind of in the works of slowly building some. But getting this and then one of the other packs we'll see on the next page would give someone a really, really good unit train that you can build. Moving on to the other options here, we have AMD, right? ADM, sorry, CHS, GATX, Global Ethanol, and TILX. Now, when I got to this page, I thought, okay, I could still get one of these tank cars just to add into my train or get a couple of them and kind of piece out my own unit train because I have a feeling these will be available when they arrive, and that'll allow me to kind of piecemeal it together as I have the opportunity to do so. So probably what I'll end up doing anyway is getting the GATX version or the TILX version because they look the most generic, and I'll get one or both of the Vision ones because I do kind of like sound cars. I know some people don't like sound cars, but I kind of do. And then we have the normal cars to go with them. Each one has 2 3-packs each at $400. And depending on which Vision car or cars I get, I would consider getting both of the packs to go with it just so I have that really good base start for the unit train. And now the Allegheny. So there was a lot of talk on coming up to the catalog about bringing out the Allegheny or things like that. And with Third Rail getting ready to deliver, I don't know if they're getting ready to deliver their Alleghenies or putting them into production. It would be really interesting to see these two or those 2 models right next to each other. I think Zach may have mentioned he might get this one from Zach from Drucker's Trains to kind of compare them, or maybe he was talking about another version of Allegheny. I don't exactly remember. But these will have whistle steam, safety steam, and 3 speakers. So it's pretty close to being a Vision Line engine already. So maybe Lionel was planning on doing this as a Vision Line engine, but then they decided to pivot and go to the GP40 instead, because those features like safety steam and the 3 speakers are usually reserved for Vision Line level engines. Because I mean, you saw 3 speakers in the big boy. I mean, I know the big boy is kind of big enough to where you can get away with that and still not call it a Vision Line engine, just like this one is. But I can't help but wonder, because I mean, I feel like people pointed this out on the miniature model server. This engine might have been at some point considered for Vision Line status, but they just decided to not call it Vision Line, even though it's got just about everything they could probably throw at it without throwing it in the black box to go with it. But we have 1601, 1604, and 1616 in C&O. On the next page, we have 1645 and 1659 in C&O black. And then we have the orange and chrome, or orange and silver, that they've done over the last couple of years. I think this is the 3rd engine they've done in this scheme. I've kind of lost count on all the different schemes that they like to repeat. Next page, we have the Virginian, Norfolk and Western, and Rio Grande. If Zach gets one, if he doesn't get one of these C&O ones to kind of compare, because I think he might have one. I don't remember if his has the white or not. He might not be able to resist the Norfolk and Western version there, because I know he's a Norfolk and Western guy. So I know he also likes the blacked out, murdered out, as he likes to say, wheels and drivers. So he might lean towards that one because, like I said, it's both Norfolk Western and it doesn't have the extra trim pieces. And then we have the Legacy Allegheny set with 1626 insulated boxcar and a bunch of other cars that I'm not even going to try and read because that would take way too long. It looks like there's a Freight Sounds car in there, so if I had to guess, actually, I probably should say on here somewhere. Yeah, C&O Freight Sounds boxcar 18100. So you still get a Sounds car here. Oh, and you also get a Vision stock car. We'll come to those a little bit later in the catalog for $4,100. So that's one, two, so that's 13 cars. Yeah, 13 cars. I don't know, my brain's fried. I'm doing this right after I get home from work. Yeah, 13 cars. So we'll move on to the next one here. Chesapeake, Ohio 2-bay hopper 10-pack. So if you didn't want to do a standard, regular freight like you did on the last page, you could get an Allegheny and then get this 10-pack and have yourself a good start on a coal drag for your Allegheny, for those of you who like to have long haul trains. And now on to the T1s. The T1 is kind of on my, I don't know if short list is the right term, but you see so much video of 2102 just tearing up the rails for excursions. And that kind of got itself on my short list of engines that I kind of want at some point for my collection. I'd like that it's a somewhat decent price. I feel like some dealers will be able to knock that down to maybe close to 15, maybe. You have 2102, 2114, 2120, and 2100 here. I like the Reading style over the Reading and Northern. I just feel like the Reading looks a little bit better. Although I feel like if you're watching, I have to say it once because I know it annoys you with reading. But you have road specific details in Wisselstein. I'm sure these will be fantastic engines. And move on to the next one. More T1 offerings in the 2102 with the normal. Okay, so there is the normal Reading style. Then you have Allegheny, 2102, Delaware and Hudson, 302, and that's supposed to be what it actually looked like, instead of it just being a reskin of a Reading one. And we have the Lionel Store Loco of the Year version. I do kind of like I don't know if that'll be shadow lined tender or if it'll actually be a fluted tender. If they did a fluted tender on this, that would look really, really cool. I like the colors here. I don't know if I like the Lenny. That seems a little much because it feels like they're trying to. I don't know if mimic is the right word for the American Freedom Train, and maybe that's kind of what they're taking inspiration from. I don't know. I don't know if I think if they took off the Lenny, I feel like I'd like it a little bit better. I don't know. It just feels like it's a little bit too much of an approximation of the American Freedom Train, but I do like the color combination down here, and it would be really cool if that was actually fluted and not shadowline. And speaking of shadowline, here we have the Crusader here. Let me see if no, it doesn't say anything about fluting, but that looks like it's fluted to me. And if that's what they're okay, so they're copying the Crusader, not the American Freedom Train. Um, again, if that's fluted, that'll look really, really cool. You have a Station Sounds Diner for 400 and a 4-pack for 900. Now, people pointed this out in all the servers I'm in. The passenger cars seem to be just a touch cheaper this time around, and I kind of appreciate that. Oh, wait a minute. Something I'm just noticing here in the catalog. We have 2 observation cars in this. I'm sure that has to be a mistake of some kind. That's a little bizarre. Does it say anything about having 2 observation cars? No, it doesn't. Okay, that's that's a little weird. Maybe that's the way the Crusader was. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend I'm a Reading expert. I don't know. That just looks weird to me. But if that actually is how it was in real life, let me know down below. I'd be really interested to see some actual pictures of the train if they actually did have 2 observation cars at either end of the train. But have the feeling that's not accurate. But again, I could be wrong. Moving on to the next one, we have another set, 2118, and let's see, 7 2-bay hoppers in a Northeast style caboose. King Cole set for 2400. That's not awful. I feel like if you had a sound caboose, that would make it a little bit better. But that's okay. Coal loads included. So we'll move on to the next one. If you wanted to add more hoppers to your set, we have a normal one for 80, 3-pack for 220, and then you have another 4 of each in different schemes, and then you have your copper loads down here. So I'm guessing these don't come with coal loads. I'll be interested to see if these actually do come with coal loads, because I believe there was a set in the past. I think Eric got said set where it said coal loads included and the coal loads were not included. Now, he did say Lionel did the right thing and sent him some coal packs, so it's not like the mistake wasn't corrected. But we'll have to see if they actually do include the coal loads. So we'll move on to the next set. Lightning Express. Now, I have heard some excitement about this set from those of people that I know that like this era of railroading. And $2,000 for the engine and 3 cars. This looks to be the XMTH tooling with some tweaks because you have the observation combine and Central Pacific and the engine. Interior lighting, drawbar couplers. So these actually should have the link and pin couplers because that's would be accurate for this era of railroading. So should be a pretty cool set for those of y'all who like to collect this style of engine and cars. We have more in the American 440 style. We have the Whirlwind, some more CP 2-pack, New Jersey Southern, engine and 2-pack, and Pennsy engine and 2-pack. Engines are 1,300 and the cars are 400. Not bad. I mean, MTH just came out with 440s, I believe, middle of last year, and those should be coming in the next couple of months. So I'd be interested to see what these two look like together because I believe are next to each other because I believe these are brass hybrids. Yeah, brass and die construction, legacy rail sounds, blah blah blah. Obviously, I'll have my Central Georgia version coming in, so I won't be getting one of these. I would be curious to see what a legacy Central Georgia one would look like, just because I like legacy as compared to DCS, but the one advantage that mine will have over a legacy one is they'll have accurate sounds, or not accurate sounds, but it'll have an actual prototypical PFA for the maintaining. So it'll say Savannah and all that kind of stuff. And the legacy one obviously wouldn't have that. I'd have to figure out my own way of doing that, which I was kind of already planning on doing something like that anyway before the opportunity to have it actually professionally done came up. We have Erie version, U.S. military, and Union Pacific, which kind of interesting read up here that it's not the UP that we're all familiar with. It was another competitor that was eventually absorbed into UP, which I thought was kind of interesting. And move on to the next one. All right, Dash Nines. So we have the Alabama Gulf Coast, Santa Fe, BNSF, Chicago Northwestern, Norfolk Southern, and Southern Pacific. Interesting to see the NS patch here on what used to be a BNSF. And, and if you get the ethanol set earlier in the catalog, you put this other engine with it, and you'll have a pretty good looking consist. And is 8603 and 8608 the ones that were the last ones to have this scheme? I feel like they might be. So I remember there being a couple ones that somehow survived pretty far into UP history that had this scheme that weren't painted over. I don't remember what their numbers are, but they might be one of them might be 8603 or 8608. I really don't remember. If you guys know, let me know down below. I really don't remember. E7s. Okay, so Chesapeake, Ohio, you have Great Northern and Penn Central, and each one has a super base B. I really like that Penn Central down there because you get your Penn Central and what looks like it could have been an ex-Pennsy unit, and then you have a New York Central heavily weathered B unit. That looks really cool. I'm sure that'll look really cool when it's all in one train. I don't need any E7s because I have my two Central Georgia ones, and I don't feel like asking Legacy Station to do a custom run because, like I said, I already have two, and I would rather get another pair of E7s in the Central Georgia scheme from Jay at Third Rail anyway. Not to knock these, I'm sure they'll be great, but I'd just rather have ones that match the ones that I have already. Now, one thing that I feel like is incorrect is this has a minimum curve of 036. So unless this isn't a fixed pilot or something like that, I don't see how these could do 036 because my E7, I mean, it does have a fixed pilot, so it really needs 072 to run properly. It runs fine on my 060 and 063, but it's not I don't know if it barely runs, but I don't feel confident in 036 on E7s. I could be wrong, But I really don't think that it will run on 036. How am I doing on time? Half an hour. Wow. Chicago Northwestern. I'm sure these look nice in all in one set. Dakota 400 set. Louisville, Nashville, Old Reliable. Nice to see some heavyweights here as opposed to the 21s. It's not that I don't like the 21 inches. I really do like the 21-inch cars. I feel like that's closer to what scale could be. But I do like Louisville and Nashville. I really like the blue and gray. Blue is one of my favorite colors, and the blue and gray combination is also one of my favorite color combinations. And something that's interesting is we'll see it later in the catalog. There's another car that could potentially go with this set that has a weird little feature here. Now, if I was to get a set of these E7s, it would probably be this Southern set, but then I'd have to get all the cars in the B unit for it to look right. So, 1,300 for a pair of A's. That's not terrible, honestly. I don't feel like that's that bad of a deal. And again, reduced prices on the passenger cars. You have 900 for the 4-pack, 450 for the 2-pack, and 400 for the Station Sounds Diner. When they could have easily charged, like they have been, $1,000, 500 for the 21-inch 2-pack, and then 450, 500 for the Station Sounds Diner. Maybe Lionel is starting to listen and bring down their prices. I don't know. I'm not going to say that definitively. But we'll move on here to the Jeep 20s. We have Santa Fe, Burlington Northern, Jeep 20 in their demo unit, New York Central, Southern Pacific, and Union Pacific. Not something I'm particularly interested in, but we'll move on to the next one. And now we're starting into freight cars. We have the PS2 2 CDs, looks like the standard hoppers, and Cargill, Lehigh Valley, Chicago Northwestern, Milwaukee Road, Missouri Pacific, and Wayne Feeds. I kind of like that Lionel is starting to branch out a little bit and do some. I don't know if off the wall is the right way to phrase it, but it's not a standard railroad. It's not just slapping NS in it on it or something like that and calling it a day. They're starting to kind of branch out and put businesses and things like that on Hopper because it wasn't all just railroads. I mean, businesses had their own kind of rolling stock and things like that. So it's nice to see that Lionel's starting to kind of branch out and put new schemes on their rolling stock. Now, I do like this Lionel Lines car because it has Lionel Lines, or not Lionel Trains boxes on the inside. I think that's a really nice detail. So this is something I might consider grabbing whenever they come in, just because I think that's a really nice little detail. All right, Vision stock cars. Now they've done these plenty of times before, but they've never done donkey sounds. So I feel like that's a really interesting choice for their Vision cars. So you'll have obviously the normal sounds like the stopping and loading and all that stuff, but you'll have a quilling donkey sound. That should be very, very interesting. I don't know if that's specific to this car because it says Jack's Donkey Farm on the side. I don't know if the other ones like your standard pig or sheep or cow, but this one will probably be the most popular one out of all of them just because of the sound, but the fact that it's donkey sounds. That should be very interesting when those come in. And you have on the other side here 2 more beer cars, I guess. Well, okay. One's a beer car that has Lenny on it, and one's a smoke pellet car. I kind of like the smoke pellet because that's one of my favorite smoke fluid scents because that's the one I grew up using. It's kind of nice. All right, so Now we're on the AEC page, or the radioactive, as they're calling it, atomic energy. So I'm sure those of you who have been collecting your AEC will pick up this one because it has sounds and it'll glow in the dark and things like that. Department of Defense. I think it's, yeah, Department of Defense cars. Now, this is the car I was talking about a minute ago when we were looking at the Louisville and Nashville set. I don't know if they mean for this car to go with that set. And if they do, I'm not sure why they put it here for it to glow in the dark. Maybe there's something I don't know about this car and that train. I don't know. It's an interesting choice. This 18-inch car includes Geiger counter sounds on a loop and a special clear coating to help it glow in the dark. Now you can add some atom splitting fun to your operations and still be prototypical. I don't know. Oh, wait. With a home base of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, they were decorated in the standard livery of the Ellen. Okay. But the fine print by the baggage stores gives the car away, and it could be found on railroads nationwide. So there's some base there for the Ellen. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it's another car for the set. So you don't have to use. I mean, you don't have to use the fact that it glows in the dark. Most of the time, you're going to be running with the lights on anyway. So I don't know. Nice car to add into your consist to make it a 8-car train. Let me go back real quick. 4, 6, yeah, 8-car train. Not bad. Again, you don't have to run it into the dark if you don't want to. Passenger cars, 4 reading packs. Solid green and two-tone green. C and J, 2 packs. Graffiti versions of the cars we saw earlier. Again, nice to see Lionel's kind of branching out a little bit and doing standard, or not standard, but different schemes. More freight cars, hoppers, more hoppers. Steel-sided box cars. Nice to see some smaller railroads that are being represented. It's not just the standard Southern Pacific or Union Pacific or New York Central or Penn C. It's nice to see some smaller railroads like Indian, which is a Mexican railroad, can't talk. Canada Southern, Chicago Great Western, Clinchfield, Northampton, and Bath Steel Side. Like I said, nice to see Lionel kind of branching out and kind of featuring some smaller railroads. Really enjoyed, like in the last catalog, we saw the Central Georgia number 8, something I thought I would have to ask for a custom run for. But nice to see Lionel kind of giving some smaller railroads the spotlight for once. Lion Chief 2.0 Lion Master Big Boy. This is basically a scaled down, condensed version of a Big Boy with some of the features that you would see on a scale Big Boy, but would still run on an 031 curve. Dual speakers, fan driven smoke, lighted number boards, firebox, all that kind of stuff you would see on a TMCC engine, but just slightly smaller. I won't be getting one because I would rather have a scale Big Boy, but 1300 isn't terrible, but it's not for me. 4014, 4008, 4001 in the Greyhound scheme, and 4024 in the hot dog scheme. Jeep 7s. I won't be getting any Jeep 7s because I have Jeep 7s in the Central Georgia. And now that I look at it, this looks to be, I don't know if this is the same tooling or if it's MPH tooling. It looks a little off compared to the legacy one. But I don't know. Maybe this is the same tooling. I don't know. I'm not going to act like I know all that. Maryland to Pennsylvania. BNSF, Southern Pacific, and New York Central in the Lightning scheme. Motorized units. tie ejector and flat car, and the Southern Pacific, New York Central, and AEC. I feel like Eric's probably going to grab that because AEC. Lionel Lion Scan car, and now we're on to the Lion Chief stuff. So we're going to skip down to the Christmas stuff because I really don't care all that much for the semi-scale stuff. Now I do kind of want to highlight this Christmas stuff because I think some of the Christmas stuff is actually decent. I do like the 440 and the passenger cars here. I feel like the big boy's a bit of a stretch, but those of y'all who have been memeing the Polar Express big boy, there you go. There it is. It's real. The meme is real. Now, this set I actually do like a lot. Well, not a lot, but this is the first Polar Express set that Lionel's done in quite some time that I think actually makes sense, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure if I liked the Commodore Vanderbilt. The Acela was okay, but I feel like out of all the engines that Lionel's just slapped the Polar Express scheme on, I feel like the Polar Express scheme fits an engine like the E7 the best because then you get the passenger cars to go with it. I like the domes. I like how it's a little more streamlined. I feel like this is just a realistic, natural progression for what if the Polar Express was, actually a real train. I feel like that would be like a logical evolution of what the train would become. I don't know. I just like how it looks. Like I said, I feel like this scheme lends itself to the body style of the E7 and the passenger cars way better than ones they've done in the past. Not to knock the other ones. I just feel like this one's actually really decent. More Polar Express stuff. Stations, MTH tooling. Tie ejector car. Reindeer sound. So maybe that other one was just a donkey sounds exclusive to that one. I don't know. I do like this one. So this particular stack, just while we're looking at it, made me think, okay, maybe a Legacy Central Georgia engine was possible because that's a little bit closer to what the actual stack was in the Central Georgia one. But again, I already have an MTH one, so I really won't need a Legacy one to kind of compare to. Interesting use of the Hogwarts Express tooling here. More MTH stuff here. Star Wars, Disney, kind of skip through all this. So there is one more thing I do want to talk about, and it's the normal station platform. Now, this is one I'm kind of considering getting because I do have this version, this station on my layout right now. It's the MTH Rail King version, but I would kind of like to have a new, for lack of a better word, version of that station. Not that I don't like the one that I have here, but it would be nice to have a new a brand new version of that station. And it'd be nice to have just nice to have another station to put on the layout. I know my layout really isn't big enough to have two stations right now, but in the future, when I build a new layout in a new house, it might be big enough for two stations. So it'd be nice to go ahead and get this station, have another normal station to kind of have waiting in the wings for the next layout, if you will. Now I've heard some praise for the switches here. They look new. I do like the power control add-on kit. I'm not sure if that means I could add it to a switch like a Gargraves or a Ross or something like that, kind of, because I do like Lionel's style of switch lever as opposed to an Atlas, which is just like a little knob instead of an actual lever. I don't know. I like that style of switch something a little bit better than just a toggle switch. I just feel like it feels a little more premium. I don't know. But that looks like it's the end of this catalog. So we'll kind of go back to the beginning here and talk about if I was to get anything, what I would get. As I said earlier, I've got a lot on my plate in terms of future pre-orders. So while I might not pre-order anything from this particular catalog, I'm thinking about doing, once they come in, that is, one or both of either the GATX Vision ethanol cars or the TILX cars. And then depending on which one I get, I'll do probably both of the two packs to match because I want as many cars as I can. And maybe I'll even end up getting both depending on how easy these sets are to come across when they arrive. Because again, I want to build a unit train. I'll have a Trinity hot. I'll have two unit trains probably because I'll have a bunch of the Atlas Will cars coming in at some point. I'll have a bunch of the Trinity cars coming in, so that'll be at least two unit trains. So I'll need a tank unit train, and I'll need to get my hands on some buffer cars like they are in the set. But those are the only kind of cars I'm looking at. I also kind of like the Lionel lines car at the end that had the Lionel card boxes on the inside. And the only thing I guess if I really pre-ordered anything, maybe the station, but again, I feel like that'll be one I can find at a later date. Nothing in this catalog I feel like I absolutely have to have, which I guess for me is a good thing because like I just said, I've got a lot coming. But I feel like all around, this is a really decent catalog from Lionel, which it feels like it's been a while since Lionel has had an actually decent catalog. And it's kind of refreshing to see Lionel have a little bit of everything in the catalog. There's something for everyone, I feel like, in this catalog. And like I said, it's just refreshing to see that Lionel's kind of doing, like I said, a little bit of everything. But if you like the video, leave a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think of this version of doing the catalog video. It feels like it'll be a lot easier for me to edit and things like that because it's all in one shot instead of recording little clips and then having to kind of splice it all together. Let me know if y'all like the camera feature. I don't know. A lot of people do that. I think RJ might do it. I don't remember who all does this style. But again, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what y'all are pre-ordering from the catalog, if anything. And I will see you guys in the next video.